Hello, so in this video we're going to be exploring the compatibility of Libra with the 12 signs, including itself. And of course, the first thing I want to, get out there is not everyone is, no one is just one sign, okay? Everyone has many different signs in their chart, so of course we have to take into account when we are actually assessing compatibility between real life people. You have to look at not just the sun sign, but the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, the descendant, etc. Okay, but yeah, let's just dive into it here. So, starting out with Aries, I think we're starting out really strong. Libra actually works very well with Aries. I think it's interesting that Libra can oftentimes, come across very refined and they want balance. And Aries, of course, isn't really balanced at all. Aries is a little bit extreme sometimes, but this actually works really well because although Libra comes across very balanced and it sometimes can be, Libra is definitely one of the least risk-taking signs, I would say. But Libra is actually very receptive to outside energies being very outgoing, being domineering, being a little eccentric. You know what I mean? Libra is generally looking for someone a little bit more outgoing, someone decisive, someone to simplify things, someone confident, and you get all of that and more with Aries. Okay, so this actually works really well, and this works well both ways because Aries is so outgoing and so fiery that Aries tends to work well with others that are receptive to their energy, basically. Aries likes taking the lead, and so they love someone who can just follow along and match their energy, and Libra is more than capable of doing all of that and more. Plus, Libra and Aries, although they are very different, mostly with Aries being so outgoing and so spontaneous, and Libra being so inward focused, so slow to act, there are those differences, but there are some commonalities as well. Both Aries and Libra can be very sociable. They love a good party. They love they love good interactions, social interactions, and they can be very flirtatious. They can be very socially capable, let's just say. I was going to say socially intelligent. I would say Libra would be more socially intelligent, but both of them in different ways are very socially capable at times. So they can both really, enjoy those interactions with each other and with other people as well. Okay, next let's go to Libra and Taurus. So for those of you who know astrology, I think the first connection we can draw between Taurus and Libra is that they're both ruled by Venus. And while that is true, while there are some commonalities there, such as, Taurus and Libra both enjoying nice, pleasurable experiences, they really want to treat themselves, they really love aesthetics. There are those shared interests, maybe shared commonalities there, but other than that, especially when looking at the lifestyle of Taurus and Libra, both are very different. In particular, Libra is so detached. Libra can come across very engaging and very even sentimental at times, but really, oftentimes they're just kind of going with the flow of the mood around them. They themselves are actually very detached, and so that can actually kind of rub Taurus the wrong way. Taurus may feel like Libra's not taking things seriously enough, and Libra may feel, to be honest, kind of bored by Taurus. Like I was saying for Aries, Libra's looking for someone, who's going to take charge and initiate. And Taurus, although Taurus is very strong-willed, Taurus is more used to just, they're very slow, they're very gradual. They're not really looking to initiate anything in any kind of bold way at all, and so that's where I think Libra could be a little bit bored, because Libra is also not going to initiate really. I think Libra would be one of the signs that is least likely to initiate with someone. They want someone who's going to take the lead, and with Taurus, Taurus is not a risk taker. Taurus is not bold necessarily, so it almost kind of hurts the dynamic how much they have in common. They both have in common, the being very cautious and not wanting to, make any kind of waves or anything. So because of that, I think if there was a dynamic here, it would develop very slowly and could be a little bit boring, maybe even for both of them, really. What else? Taurus is also very practical. Taurus wants everything to make sense. Everything has to be pragmatic and, down to earth, practical. And with Libras, although they can be very intellectual and very well thought out, they like to think things through. They also love a great deal of impracticality. They really love to go out and treat themselves with nice experiences, even if they may not be like the most, frugal necessarily. So that could rub Taurus the wrong way. And what else? Taurus. Right, and Libra, they're detached, so they're just wanting to have fun. They can partake in experiences and ideas that are a little bit more out there than what Taurus would be comfortable with, or what would even make sense to Taurus, if that makes sense. So really, Taurus and Libra, although they are both ruled by Venus, they really share very little in common. This is a quincunx aspect by sign, and whenever you get a quincunx aspect, these energies are going to have almost as little in common as possible. Taurus is very down to earth, very steady, very stable. Libra's kind of constantly changing its mind. It's here, it's there. There's not much in common here, but there's also not a lot of, it's not an opposites attract dynamic either. So really, there's not much going for Taurus and Libra at all. Next would be Gemini and Libra. This is an interesting one. So both are air signs, both have a lot in common, both are very fickle, very intellectual, very detached. They have a lot in common. Both have a lot of shared interests. Both, let's go through this like intellectual road path. Both will really love, interesting conversations and sharing information, learning from each other. So that could be the start of a really great friendship. The reason why I say friendship, though, is because with this dynamic, again, there's not enough difference to drive the attraction. I always say in my readings, you have to have a little bit of tension to drive the attraction. You have to have some differences there, some contrast. And here, there's not really enough contrast. Like I said previously, Libra is looking for someone outgoing, someone to initiate, someone more decisive than themselves, maybe. And with Gemini, you're just not going to get that at all. Gemini is at least as indecisive. Gemini has so much on its mind, just like Libra does. Both of these signs are easygoing, because Gemini and Libra each can see every situation from so many different angles. It makes them easygoing. It makes them kind of go with the flow, and the detachment is part of that as well. So when you bring them together, no one's going to really take the lead. No one is going to be comfortable being, the initiator or, kind of driving the whole, putting momentum into the dynamic. So I could see this being a really great friendship because they have so much in common. But as for more than that, like a romantic connection, I don't see either of them being really that interested in that. What else? I think I made that pretty clear. Yeah, and I think just going off of that, because neither one would be comfortable initiating, because both of them will be kind of observing each other and waiting for the other one to act, I think that could actually make things a bit awkward and even create some misunderstandings, which is ironic because these misunderstandings they're caused by similarities that both of these signs have. But these similarities actually, I think, work against the understanding here. Does that make sense? In other words, both Gemini and Libra would have perhaps easier understanding with someone who is more outgoing, more fiery. Gemini or Libra would be better with fire signs romantically, because they're so observant, because they're so receptive. They can get along better with someone who's more outgoing, generally speaking. Next is Libra and Cancer. This is an interesting one because I notice a lot of Libra and Cancer couples, which I think from an astrological standpoint is very interesting because Libra and Cancer have so little in common. They are both cardinal signs, meaning that both Libra and Cancer start their seasons. Libra starting fall, Cancer starting summer. But Libra is, of course, air. Cancer is water. So where do I start here? So I think on the surface, it can appear that there are a lot of similarities here, and I think this is part of what draws these two together. Both enjoy meeting people, both love meeting new people. interacting with others. Both can be a little bit shy at two, so that you have a lot in common there, where both can be shy or inhibited, yet at the same time they love meeting new people, so there's a lot in common there. And then they also prefer to be a little bit indirect. They can be subtle. They enjoy, both thrive with understanding subtlety in social interactions or just in general in life. So I think, from all of what I just said, I think there's a great foundation for them meeting together and having chemistry initially. But one more thing about that too. And this will lead me into my other part of what I have to say. Libra, although they are very detached, I think they can seem more sensitive than they are sensitive, but they can seem more emotional than they are, especially in social interactions. So, meeting one another, it can appear that they have a lot in common, but the challenge here, this is a square aspect, so there would be tension there. And yes, I did just say tension can drive the attraction, so this could go multiple ways. But let's talk about the differences, though. That's what I'm trying to get to. So the main difference that I see is Cancer. It's hard to say what would be the most emotional sign out of the whole 12 sign zodiac, but Cancer is often associated with emotion. Cancer is definitely a candidate for being the most emotional sign of the whole zodiac. And I would go as far as to say that Libra would be the least emotional sign. Libra's the most detached. Libra's the only sign totally represented by an object, the scales. It's not even like Aquarius, which is the water bearer, implying a person. Libra is just the scales themselves. Libra is an inanimate object. Okay? So in other words, those who have strong Libra placements, they'll be very detached. They may be very excellent at going with the flow and camouflaging, and that's where they may come across more sensitive emotionally than they actually are. But deep down, they're very detached, very objective, very observant. So when you get a long-term, committed, intimate relationship between Libra and Cancer, that's where the main challenge is going to be. Cancer is so sensitive, so emotional. Libra is so detached. And this huge difference is it can likely result, there's definitely the probability that there will be a lot of misunderstandings there. And they have different needs as well. So in short, I think this connection works really well for friendship or acquaintances, any kind of shallower relationship. But for a deep, committed, intimate relationship, there's gonna have to be a lot of mutual understanding and maybe some compromises to be made. Both have to understand that where the other is coming from, because they are just so different. And we could list off the differences. I could ramble on and on about that, but the main one is the difference in emotion. Cancer is so emotional. Libra is less emotional. Neither one is objectively good or bad. It doesn't make either one a better person or a worse person. It's just different, and that difference is going to be a really key factor in the relationship. So all in all, it's going to be a difficult match romantically. Okay, that was a mouthful. Libra and Cancer is a weird one. Next, we get to Leo. So Libra and Leo. This is going to be a lot easier, more positive to talk about. This is one of the best matches as well. Leo has a lot in common with Aries. So some of what I'm about to say may be reminiscent of what I said for Aries. Leo is very outgoing, very strong-willed, and we've already just discussed how Libra is so easygoing, so receptive. They may be very peaceful in their own nature, but they can handle a good amount of chaos and action and spontaneity from others. They actually thrive on that, and they enjoy the action. They love being a part of that action, and they're actually very capable of going along for the ride and reciprocating that level of energy and warmth and affection and everything else. So, you get where I'm going. This is how the dynamic works with Leo. Leo's a very outgoing, vibrant, warm sign. Leo loves taking the lead, taking initiative. Libra is more than happy and more than capable of, not just following Leo's lead, but keeping right up with them as well. And both love a good party as well. Both love interactions, and both love nice things as well. Both can be a little bit materialistic, I would say, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to enjoy that. So yeah, both have a lot in common, and both have a lot different as well from one another, but these differences actually strengthen the relationship. The differences of Leo being outgoing and Libra being more receptive, more introverted. Like I say, the main thing with Libra is that they're looking for someone more fiery, more confident, more decisive than themselves. Libra can be strong-willed, they can be very deep and complex, but this complexity is actually what makes them less outwardly confident, less bold, because they're perceiving everything. They're perceiving so many variables. They're gonna need someone who has a more simplistic mentality to get them going, to get them into action, to get them engaged. Okay. And when I say simplistic or complicated, I don't mean there's no judgment in that. I don't think, Leos can be very deep and complex as well, but I think that they have a more simplistic mentality in the sense that everything is more black and white for them. They know how they feel. They know what they want. That's what allows them to be so outwardly confident. And that's what attracts them to Libra and vice versa. So this is probably, one of the best combinations for Libra for sure. Libra with Aries or Libra with Leo. Either of these will work very well. Okay, next is Libra with Virgo. This is another really interesting one because there's so much different. These signs are side by side. Whenever you have signs that are side by side, they're going to be very different from one another. I compare signs that are side by side to being siblings. They're like siblings because they may occur, they are conceived from the same time, from the same environment. They are immersed in the same environment, and so they have the same sort of like background aura, kind of, or their, or background philosophy, I guess you could say, background world. But their individual personalities, their individual essences themselves are very different from one another. They're actually more different than farther energies. So how does this go? So I think on the surface it may seem like these signs would have more in common than they actually do because both are intellectual. Libra is of course an air sign. It's very detached, very intellectual, loves learning. Virgo loves learning too. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So both of these signs do have those things in common. Both are a little bit detached, intellectual, love learning. So both could have really interesting conversations with one another. Virgo is, of course, an earth sign, so it's very down to earth, very practical, much more grounded than Libra. And so there could be some differences there that they could, benefit from one another. Libra could gain from Virgo's groundedness and practicality. Virgo could gain from Libra's social etiquette. Virgo can be a bit awkward. What else? And both can be a bit shy, so I'm not sure if that would hurt, if that would help or hinder the relationship. But just kind of going into their differences though, there are so many, especially socially. The way each of these signs handles the interactions with others. Virgo really values authenticity. Virgo wants to be truthful with everyone, and whatever the truth of the matter is, that's what they go to. Libra is not like this at all. Libra is much more diplomatic. Libra is going to kind of bend, with the ramifications of the social environment with, whoever's around. So this basically looks like, Virgo sometimes lacking social etiquette, sometimes being a bit blunt or awkward, and Libra thriving with social interactions. And Virgo being maybe more, just more transparent in some ways, and Libra kind of bending the truth, sort of. That's how Virgo would put it. So I think that's one major difference that can result in a lot of misunderstandings and awkwardness between the two. Virgo could be a bit too blunt. The honesty could rub Libra the wrong way. And then same, the other way around. Virgo could view Libra as being dishonest or not faithful, to the truth or what have you. So again, it's not that either one is superior or inferior to the other. It's just that it's just a different approach that may likely result in a lot of misunderstanding. Okay. What else? Another thing too, Virgo can be a little bit more reclusive, and Libra can be shy, but Libra tends to love, Libra loves attention. Virgo gets awkward with attention. It doesn't want too much publicity. It's kind of the hermit sign. It likes to be on its own. And again, Libra can be shy, but Libra loves attention. Libra wants to get out there. Libra, like I keep saying, Libra would really love to get with some more outgoing people and then go for kind of a ride that way. So again, that's a huge difference in lifestyle. If Libra wants to go out to parties or something, social events, Virgo may or may not be comfortable with that. Probably won't be as much as Libra would. So yeah, I think the social differences are the biggest thing. Virgo is just overall less social than Libra. So a bit of awkwardness there. I could see this working more as friends. Like again, more of a shallower kind of connection, because they especially intellectually, both can be intellectual, so both could engage in that sphere. But beyond that, I think they would rub each other the wrong way, getting closer, getting more intimate. Okay, next is Libra and Libra. This is kind of an interesting one as well. Of course, when you're combining people who have similar astrology, two people who have a lot of Libra in their chart, for example, yes, of course, they're going to have a lot in common, right? So, but depending on the sign, that may or may not be a good thing. So with Libra, like I keep saying, Libra wants to be with someone more outgoing than themselves, right? So combining Libra with Libra is kind of like combining two negative magnets. Yes, they have a lot in common, but they almost kind of repel each other. If anything, they don't really attract each other. Libra is such an observant sign, detached, go with the flow. What else? Very receptive. And so combining Libra with Libra, they're just going to be kind of analyzing each other, observing each other, waiting for the other one to make the first move. No one's going to make the first move. So it could actually be very awkward, Yep, that's it. No, I'm just kidding. But that's pretty much the main thing I would say for Libra. Libra really just, I'm going to stick with that. They really need someone else who's going to make the first move, someone who's not afraid to be independent and, stand on their own. And combining Libra with another Libra, it's not going to do that. And this, I could see this working more as friends, friendship wise, they can fall back on their similarities, and it may be very comfortable, maybe very needed, at times, like if you're feeling down and you just want something easy, it's going to be the easiest to work with someone that has similar astrology to yourself. Okay. That'll be the easiest thing. But we're not always looking for the easiest thing, especially romantically. I think we're wanting something that pushes us, something, someone who has strengths that we don't, maybe. That can be really interesting, and it can be, beneficial to our evolution. So Libra with Libra, I support it for like friendship, but for more than that, one of them has got to have some fire in their charts, or there's got to be some kind of other factor that is bringing these people together romantically. Libra with Scorpio. No. Just okay, so again, kind of like with Libra and Virgo, Scorpio values authenticity, and it can be very bold and blunt. Scorpio can sometimes lack social graces, and so this could very much rub Libra the wrong way. Libra is more, polished, more refined. What else? Both can be kind of master manipulators. Both can be socially adept, and both can be excellent with camouflaging, but they do these things in different ways. Libra is doing all of this from a more detached, intellectual standpoint, perspective. And Scorpio is doing this in a very emotionally dense, emotionally heavy kind of way. It's all about, intuition and feelings and stuff. That's another huge difference here. Like we talked about with Cancer, Libra is one of the most detached signs, maybe the most detached sign in the zodiac. Now you're combining that with Scorpio, which is one of the most emotional signs, probably the most emotionally intense sign. So right here, this alone is a big enough difference to make in a long-term committed partnership between these two signs very difficult. There's gonna have to be a lot of mutual understanding and compromise, because Scorpio feels so deeply and feels so intensely that they're looking for someone to help them feel stabilized. And they're really not going to feel that with Libra at all. Libra is constantly changing its mind, and it's detached. So Libra can say, hey, one day I just don't want to hang out with you. I'm going to go do something else just out of the blue. This is completely unacceptable and ungrounded to Scorpio. Scorpio is extremely loyal. It wants loyalty. It's all about loyalty and commitment. Libra really isn't that committed at all. Libra is, detached. It's flirty. It wants to be here. It wants to be over there. It wants to try this. It wants to try that. That would be, at worst, threatening to Scorpio, and at best, annoying. Okay, so it's just, it just wouldn't really work. What else? I'm trying to think of similarities. Honestly, I think this might be the most difficult combination for Libra, because even with Virgo, at least both of them were intellectual, but here, Scorpio can be kind of intellectual, but it's so emotional though. A lot of times Scorpio's intellectualism can actually be kind of a front or a protective layer hiding their emotional core. Not to say that it's not, I'm not saying it's not valid or anything like that. I'm just saying Scorpio is so emotional. Libra's just not. They may come across as emotional, but they're just not. So only thing I could say going for this is Libra's looking for someone kind of fiery and outgoing. Yes, Scorpio is a water sign, but it is very fiery, can be very outgoing. Scorpio can be very bold, very strong-willed, so Libra could kind of enjoy that bold energy. But again, I think the really strong emotion is going to throw Libra off. Yes, Scorpio does usually keep it under wraps, but Libras are more perceptive than people give them credit for. Libra will pick up on this really heavy emotion and possessiveness, and I think it would be a turnoff for Libra. And then likewise, Libra's flakiness from Scorpio's perspective would be a turnoff for them. Okay, next is Sagittarius. This is a combination that on paper I would think would work better than it tends to actually do, because first I'll talk about why I would think this would work better, and then that will lead into why it may or may not actually work. Okay, I would think it would work well because Libra wants someone outgoing and fiery. I know I keep saying that a million times. It's the main thing with compatibility with Libra, though. They want someone outgoing, decisive, confident, fiery, basically like Aries or Leo, maybe. So Sagittarius is fire. Sagittarius can be bold and outgoing, charming, spontaneous, impulsive, adventurous. All of this is like check for Libra. Okay, so right up, that's a good start. They want someone fiery. Sagittarius is fiery. And then Sagittarius is intellectual. Sagittarius is the only fire sign that is ruled by a semi-human being, or it's symbolized by a semi-human being, the centaur. So Sagittarius, loves a great deal of philosophy and deep conversations and talking about this and that, analyzing everything. So they have a lot in common with Libra. Libra is very detached, very intellectual. It's very much kind of a human sign, even though it's technically symbolized by an object. But my point is both of these signs can have a lot in common when it comes to talking a lot, having great conversations, learning from each other. What else? Both are ruled by benefics, so both really love indulging and having pleasant experiences, having pleasant, nice things. Both can be a little bit materialistic, which again, it's not a bad thing. I'm not judging. That can be good. So on paper, this is all good. It sounds great. There's enough difference to drive the attraction for there to be a little bit of tension, but definitely enough in common that this should be a really easy connection. I think, though, that in practice, in reality, Sagittarius is a mutable sign. It is very indecisive. It can be flaky. It has a little bit in common to Libra, where not as much, but Sagittarius sees things from all angles too. And I think this is actually a deficit to the compatibility with Libra, because again, there's too much in common now. Both signs will be very agreeable, very go with the flow. There's enough detachedness in Sagittarius that neither one may initiate. I think Sagittarius would still generally be the initiator, but it kind of depends. It depends on what is going on in the rest of the chart for the Sagittarius person. Sagittarius, because it's mutable, it can create energies that are very outgoing, very dominant, and it can also create energies that are very inhibited. Okay, very go with the flow, very adaptable, very intellectual and detached. So this more detached intellectual side of Sagittarius kind of grinds everything to a halt in my mind. Neither one will really confidently initiate, or if Sagittarius does initiate, it's not going to be as bold or clear cut as what Libra is really craving, I think. I think that's the main thing. It may sound simplistic, but I think, Sagittarius, yes, they are intellectual and they have that in common with Libra, but I don't think that's actually what Libra is wanting romantically. Friendship-wise, I think that would work great. They have enough in common. Generally, you'll hear me say energies that have a lot in common. I see that as friendship material. But romantically, there's actually too much in common here romantically. Libra's not looking for someone intellectual. They're not looking for someone... Like, Libra already overanalyzes everything. They already see the variables. Why should I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? They're overloaded with variables. They don't need someone else who's also overloaded or who's going to change their mind or what, you know what I mean? At least not romantically. Okay, so Libra with Sagittarius... On paper, if I hadn't observed these things in the field, I would think they would work great, but just don't think Libra's looking for this. They're looking for someone less analytical than themselves, someone more like Aries or Leo. I'd point them back in that direction. Next is Libra and Capricorn. So this one's a little bit different. I think at face value, these signs appear very different, and they do have a lot of differences for sure. Libra is so detached. Capricorn is very serious. Capricorn is probably the most serious sign, I would say. And Libra, yes, they can be detached too, but they don't really take things too seriously. They can change their mind. That's another big difference too. Libra is very inconsistent. Capricorn's very consistent. It's a little bit like Scorpio, where Capricorn wants that faithfulness, that commitment. They want that loyalty. They want to know they can count on someone, in 10 years or 100 years or 1,000 years or whatever. And with Libra, they're just not going to get that, because Libra, again, they have so much on their mind. They're going this way, they're going that way. They're air. They're changeable. They're fickle. Probably one of the most fickle signs, up there with like Gemini. So right off the bat, that's a huge difference. You would have to find a particularly committed Libra or a particularly flexible Capricorn for this to work, but on their own, they're looking for very different things in this regard. Libra's more looking for a good time and for action, and Capricorn's really looking for a partner they can commit to long term. So huge difference there. Also, when it comes to flirtation and courtship, because these things are very important to Libra, Capricorn's not, how do I say this? Capricorn's not the most adept in these areas. Again, Capricorn is very serious, very practical, I was going to say humble. I don't know if I'd say humble, but they're very miserly. They're very mature. They're not looking to, sway you with like a bunch of roses or some kind of, surprise romantic experience. No. Capricorn is, very gradual, very slow, very disciplined, very serious. So I don't think that would be attractive. That's not gonna, make Libra swoon by any means. But there are some similarities here, though. So both Libra and Capricorn are very naturally aware of how they are perceived by others, and although that's a big one. I'm going to come back to that. And although Libra can be fickle, Libra also, I think, is very goal oriented, especially when it comes to how they relate to other people, or like where they stand in society. So, again, that sounds kind of like Capricorn. Both of them may have they may have a lot of goals when it comes to their work, or like in other words, for Libra and Capricorn, for both of them, it's very important where they stand socioeconomically. Okay, so that's not necessarily like the sexiest or most romantic thing to have in common, but I do think that's something important to have in common, especially because it's social in nature. So this could make them really great colleagues or something, business partners, and that could develop into something more, or it could go hand in hand with something more. I think they could make really great partners in a loose kind of term. What else? I think that's the main thing, really. So I thought there was going to be more there, but yeah, honestly, these signs do square to each other. I don't hate square aspects for compatibility. I actually really think they work a lot sometimes, but for the cardinal signs like Libra, I don't think the squares work very well. I think the squares end up being actually too contentious, because cardinal signs are initiating something. They're initiating something pure. Like, they represent a beginning of a pure energy. Libra is air, so it's pure kind of detachment and social curiosity, things like that. Capricorn is practical. It's earthy, so it's initiating. Let's focus on resources and quantifiable goals and things like that. So anyway, because cardinal signs are initiating things, I don't think having two signs that are initiating completely different things, initiating completely different paths, I think that's actually too much contention, too much tension. It's not attractive. Does that make sense? Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent there. Let's talk about Libra and Aquarius. So these signs form a trine by aspect. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. It's a very harmonious aspect. So again, the nature of this is going to be very easy. Most pop astrologers will tell you it's a trine, so you're good to go. This is great romantically. I would differ a little bit. Again, when you have energies that are trining each other, these are the same element. They're both air signs, Libra and Aquarius. So they're going to have a lot in common. And you know what I say about energies that have a lot in common? They are great for friendship, but it can make things actually a little bit boring, because there's nothing for each one is not really going to learn a lot from the other one. There's not a lot of curiosity or new experiences happening, because again, both have so much in common. Both already innately understand each other, and there's more value for that in friendship, is what I would say. And of course, that could be part of something more. Like, you could have a Libra sun person with an Aquarius sun person, especially if that Aquarius sun person has like Aries Leo or something, or Aries moon or Leo moon. Does that make sense? So like, if Libra wants someone fiery, and Aquarius is going to be more of a friendship sign, but we're just analyzing two signs here. So if we took, I don't know, friendship there could be more than that too, if depending on the other placements. But just looking at Libra and Aquarius on their own, there's a lot in common here. Friendship is going to be really easy because they have so much in common. Both are detached, both are intellectual, both are cerebral, intelligent. They may have really great conversations with one another, learn very much from each other. What else? Both are interested in people, so both could enjoy social interactions and parties, things like that. And Libra is looking for someone more strong-willed, more decisive than themselves, and Aquarius can kind of go either way with that. Aquarius is air, so they can be detached and kind of here and there, kind of aloof. But Aquarius is a fixed sign, so they do have a stubbornness about them. They are strong-willed in that context. So that could kind of work. Aquarius could almost be, strong-willed enough. They can. I was gonna say they can initiate, but in my mind, I still view Aquarius. Aquarius is still air. Aquarius is still receptive as well. The air energies are receptive. They're looking for fire, really. So, would Aquarius feel more comfortable taking the lead than Libra? I think so, and therefore this could maybe almost work. But would Aquarius feel more comfortable with taking the lead or being the more receptive person? I think they'd be more receptive, generally speaking. Of course, you always have to take into account the rest of the chart that we're talking about. But Aquarius on its own, it's air. It's difficult to analyze because it's fixed air, so it's strong-willed, stubborn, set in its ways, but at the same time, it can be flexible and kind of go with the flow. Aquarius wants to be strong-willed and very set in their ways, but in a kind of detached, standoffish kind of way. Or I don't know if standoffish is the right word. Detached, like independent kind of way. So they lead by doing their own thing, kind of, not by like leading other people necessarily. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's why it's kind of a bit of a gray area. But overall, I don't think this would work. I think if you just mix a little bit of fire into Aquarius's chart and, then they could be much more outgoing and then it could be a lot more attractive for Libra. But just Aquarius on its own, they're both too detached, too intellectual. Neither one will feel comfortable initiating, especially because if this is romantic, Aquarius is really not comfortable initiating emotionally or displaying emotion. And so you kind of need someone to display affection or emotion or passion to get things, to get the ball rolling. So that's why Libra works so much better with Aries or Leo. And did I say that right? That's why Libra works so much better with Aries or Leo, not with Aquarius. Aquarius is kind of more awkward and detached. I like Aquarius more than Gemini or Libra for Libra. But there are still better matches, if that makes sense. I don't want to ramble about that too much. I already went on way too much. Okay, we're almost done. So Libra and Pisces. This one is really interesting as well. Now we're back to the quincunx aspect. It's a 150-degree aspect. The way I view quincunx signs is that they have as little in common as you could possibly get, really. I think Libra and Scorpio may rival this connection because they have very little in common. But anyway, so Libra and Pisces, they just don't have anything in common. Again, this is a water sign, so Pisces is one of the most emotional signs, and again, Libra is air. It's one of the least emotional signs. So that's going to be a huge conflict in a committed partnership, a committed romantic partnership. How do you compromise? How do you understand each other when one is so sensitive and so emotional and the other is not? This could be very draining for both parties, and both could easily start to villainize the other one just because of this difference in emotion. Does that make sense? However, I do think that I think these signs could be attracted to each other, though. I think in weird ways, Libra can sometimes be attracted to water signs like Cancer or Pisces. For Pisces, I think it's because both of these signs have a Venus connection. Venus rules Libra. It's exalted in Pisces. So both Libra and Pisces can be very flirtatious. They can be very, I was going to say kind of beautiful, but I don't just mean physically. I mean their essence, their aura is so attractive. They're so easy to be around, Libra and Pisces. With Libra and Pisces, there's something kind of fantastical. Libra and Pisces, neither of them are afraid to kind of bend the truth or just, they, I don't know. It's hard for me to analyze because I am, I think, more removed from it. I don't have this myself, but both of them, there's something just, I don't know, magical about them. Anyway, both can be very charismatic, very charming. And like I said, Libra wants, that's important for Libra. Libra wants someone engaging in that regard. They're wanting They love the courtship process and things like that. So I think this could attract these signs to one another. Pisces is not necessarily the most initiative taking sign, but with Pisces you never know what you're going to get. It's kind of all over the place, and through that kind of, I was going to say mess, and I say that with no judgment, but it is kind of a mess. There's a certain amount of chaos that comes from Pisces. Creativity, let's just call it. So I think from that kind of creativity and that volatility and constantly changing all the time, from that you could actually get some initiative that would attract Libra. Like, whoa, this is something different, this is something interesting, I can just kind of go along with this. That could be very attractive to Libra. But on the other hand, Pisces can actually be very detached. Yes, they're very emotional, they are a water sign, but I think that they can be potentially more detached than any of the other water signs. Scorpio likes to pretend that it's detached, but really it's feeling a lot. Pisces can be just truly, it can kind of just float there and be detached. So my point is, this is not good for compatibility with Libra. Libra's already detached. Meeting someone else who's also detached, how is a relationship going to form there? What is driving the connection if both parties are detached? Also, Pisces is very go with the flow. Pisces sees everything from many different angles. And again, they have a lot. It's almost like with this video, the signs that have the most in common with Libra, I think, are least compatible, which is kind of backward in a way. But yeah, Pisces has too much in common with Libra. Seeing everything from all angles, being kind of indecisive and wishy-washy. Libra is those things too, and so there's no one there to like with Libra, you really need someone to like take the reins and give some kind of momentum, give some direction to the dynamic. And Pisces is not going to do that. If anything, it's just going to be all over the place between the both of them. And I don't want to sound judgmental to Pisces, because Libra is the same way in a lot of regards. Libra can go over here, can go over there. Same with Pisces. So if both are so flexible, then who's going to make the decisions? It's just not going to work. Yeah, and the difference in emotion, that I feel like there have probably been a lot of fights in couples over just not understanding that difference in emotion. Neither one is, better or worse. It's just different. So Pisces, they may be enamored by one another. It could start off really great. It could be a great friendship maybe. But as for a romantic connection like that, like a close connection, it could happen. It's just there's going to have to be a lot of mutual understanding and compromise, as I always say. Okay, so I hope you liked that. This is a little bit different. It's a different format than the other compatibility videos. But speaking of which, if you enjoyed this, I've covered most of the other signs and how they relate to the other signs. So if you are interested in more of that, check out this playlist I'm showing now. And I hope you found that interesting. Hope you learned something. Leave a comment below if your experiences matched what I said, or if you had a very different experience. I would love to hear whatever you have to say. But thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later.